Coming up, the spring sports are here. Alex Heinert has all the top athletes and teams to watch for this season in our high school track and field preview.
And the baseball season is also underway. Which teams have gotten off to a good start? We'll let you know as we unveil our first edition of the Power Rankings.
All that plus our long-range forecast for the biggest spring sporting events in the Dakotas. Varsity Sports starts right now. Hello and welcome to Varsity Sports alongside Jason Andera. I am Jay Elson.
It's that time of year, Jay. Flip the calendar, flip the seasons for the sports, and glad to be previewing some track and field. We'll also get some baseball and softball in later in the show.
Yeah, a lot to preview today, so let's not waste any time. Shift the conversation to our very own track star, Alex Heinert.
Thanks, guys. Hey, first off, what a time to be a track fan in the Dakotas. We're coming off a 2015 season that saw a number of long-standing individual records shattered and features some of the tightest team races in recent memory. I'm not going to deny we've graduated a lot of outstanding seniors. Believe me, I've shed my tears, fellas, but don't worry. We got some of the best returning this year for more. In no particular order, here are 10 athletes to watch for in 2016. Macy Hines of Ipswich is still only a junior, but she's already won about everything you can win at the high school level. 15 state titles, 4 state team championships, 4 outstanding athlete awards, even 2 Dakota Relay special event titles. With the lone exception of the 3,200 meters, which she certainly might try this year, she's won every individual running event at the state Bs and has rebounded well this spring from a hip injury she suffered during this fall state cross-country meets. Courtney Dowling of Pierre returns after missing the second half of her junior season with a hamstring problem she suffered in late April. The Augustana commit was almost unbeatable in the 100 through the 400 as a freshman and sophomore, and is one of only 2 active athletes in the Dakotas to hold an all-time state record, hers coming 2 years ago in the 400 meters. The other, Maddie Shirley Fairbairn of Bismarck, who set the all-time North Dakota 2-mile mark of 10:33 last year at the Howard Wood Dakota Relays. The lead Deadwood transfer was a revelation as an 8th grader, winning the mile and 2-mile at both the Dakota Relays and at the state track meets. It'll be fun to see what she does for an encore. Speaking of encores, West Fargo thrower Akili Moten set the bar high as a sophomore last year, winning state A javelin and shot put titles with marks that put her 3rd and 4th all-time in North Dakota state history. She'll look to add a discus crown to her resume this spring. Tori Glazier of Custer had as good of a state meet as you could have last year, winning individual championships in the 800 and 1600 and anchoring the Wildcats 4x8 and medley relay teams to titles. She's now won 3 straight 800-meter crowns in Class A, the next in a long tradition of great Custer middle distance runners. Zach Anderson of Parker is going to be the show this year in South Dakota. The 2-time defending Class B high jump champ won the overall gold at last year's state meet at 6'7" and followed that up last week with a 6'10.25" clearance to set a new Dan Lennon meet record. If you like speed, then you'll like Hunter Johnson of Bismarck High. The Demon Sprinter reached the 21-second zone to win the 200 meters at last year's state meet and just missed out on the 100-meter title. He'll be a heavy favorite to grab both crowns this time around, as will Demon teammate Sam Klausnitzer in the distance events. Sam won the mile and 2-mile last year and added to his trophy case this past fall with a 2nd consecutive individual state cross-country title. Another cross-country champ to watch for this spring is Newtown's Ryan Wheeling. The junior won state titles in the mile and 2-mile 2 years ago before coming in 2nd in all 3 distance events at the 2015 North Dakota State meet. He'll be a big part of the Eagles' push for back-to-back team titles this year in Class B. Mason Herricks of Watertown doesn't enter this season as the holder of any individual state title, but he is our reigning platinum champion in the 100 meters. The Aero sprinter put up a top time of 10.73 seconds as a junior last year, and he looks poised to move up a few spots on the podium in both the 1 and the 2 in Class AA this spring.
All right, thanks, Alex. We will be talking baseball in a bit here, but coming up next, we're going to bring back Mr. Heinert to see who he's pegged as the top track and field teams in South Dakota for 2016.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute, Shields, and Farmers Union Insurance Agency. Track and field season's greetings from all of us here at Varsity Sports.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't care what your mama says, track season is here. I don't care what your daddy says, track season is dear. You'll start feeling mighty fine when you cross that finish line. I don't care what the mayor says, track is number one. I don't care what your golf coach says, track is lots of fun. Watch track highlights with your friends on Varsity Sports on Midco SN. So glad it's track season today. So glad it's track season today.
There you go, Jay.
I'm not sure how we got roped into that, but it happened. Alex, clearly excited about track and field
As he should
season,
be.
and as he is every year. And one of the reasons is he's awfully good at predicting what's going to happen. Last year, he got 4 of the 6 team champions correct in South Dakota during our preview show. Believe it or not, that was a down year for him, and he wants another crack at it.
Here's what to expect in each class in South Dakota track and field this season, starting with what could be a wide-open race in AA boys. Sioux Falls Roosevelt's the defending champion, but head coach Jason Wagner knows that after losing some key members from last year's squad, there's no guarantee of a repeat.
Definitely not as deep as we've been in the last year, obviously. When you can win 4 out of 5 relays, depth is just a huge thing. So we're not as deep, but the cupboard's not bare.
The strength of that rider cupboard is in the middle distances, where they'll rely on seniors Josh Gearing and Dan Armstrong to lead the charge in the 400 meters and up. Sioux Falls Lincoln was second to the riders a year ago, but after graduating Will Lauer, Ned Sudbeck, and Nate Schroeder, the Pats have as many, if not more, holes to fill than their crosstown rivals. Thrower Austin Hochschild and high jumper Evan Heber return after high finishes at state last season, while cross-country champ Gabe Peters will provide a spark in the long distances. The AA girls title was the closest of any in South Dakota last year, with Rapid City Stevens edging out Brandon Valley by just 2.5 points for the title. The Raiders will be in the thick of the race once again, with the likes of Jamie Schweiss and Kendra Dykster returning in the distance events, along with hurdle champ Elizabeth Schaefer. But with nearly everyone back and depth all across the track and the field, it's the Lynx that enter this year as the favorites, an unfamiliar position for Troy Sturgeon's squad.
Last year, we were kind of under the radar. And people weren't really looking for us. Now, this year they are, and they know what we have, they know what we're capable of, and they know that they have to make it that much better.
Brandon Valley's talent on the track will be second to none this spring, highlighted by defending 200 and 400 meter champ Krista Bickley and 2-mile runner-up Courtney Klatt. Ironically, it's the depth across disciplines, a longtime Stevens trademark, that makes this Lynx team poised for a title run. They might need all of that depth to hold off a potentially strong challenge from a young but talented Sioux Falls Lincoln side.
I feel like our girls team can be right there. We were third last year and returning everybody, and or nearly everybody, and we think that we can do a really nice job.
The Pats have reigning state AA outstanding track athlete Jasmine Cooper back in the fold to anchor the middle distances, while emerging star sprinter and jumper Michaela Moore, steady thrower Izzy Van Veldhuizen, and a strong relay group could have Lincoln very much in contention. In Class A, St. Thomas More won both team titles last year, the first such sweep in Class A since Spearfish pulled it off in 1987. And with a lot of talent back in both camps, there's a good possibility STM could do it again. The Cavalier boys doubled up runners-up West Central 121.5 to 60.5 at state last year, but this season should be much tighter. St. Thomas More returns 800-meter and mile champ Luke Julian, as well as a talented group of sprinters led by Jake Andrew. West Central Gill boasts Jonah Rechtenbaugh, the favorite in both the 200 and 400, as well as distance specialist Derek Peters and high jump champ Noah Vetris. The Trojans might win more individual events, but the Cavs are always tough in the relays and might have just too much depth for their East River rivals. The STM girls returned 200-meter champ Delaney Carlson and hurdles champ Shannon Duffy, along with a number of placers in the sprints and 3/4 of the winning 4x1 and 4x2 relay teams. They'll get a challenge from a Madison side that finished a distant second last year, but it feels like this is the Cavs' title for at least one more season. In Class B, the boys' title race promises to be as unpredictable as ever. Platt Geddes came out of left field to pip Freeman to the top spot on the podium last year, but while the Black Panther relay and distance teams should be strong again this season, the margin for error is still slim. Bison could make a run behind mile and cross-country champ Daniel Burkhalter and jump specialist Cody Boer, but realistically, so could any other squad. Time's going to tell on this one. Finally, we transition from the most unpredictable race to the easiest one to call. The Class B Girls Championship Trophy has found a home in Ipswich for the past 4 seasons, and it's all too likely that's where it will stay this spring.
When you talk about a team, it's a true sense of a team because they truly care about each other, and I think that's the difference between this squad and most squads that, you see out there.
The Tigers racked up 98 points last year to cruise to a 42-point victory over runners-up Chester. And with Macy Hines, a deep pool of sprinters, distance kids, and pole vaulters, I'd expect more of the same from Todd Thorson's club this season.
All right, thanks, Alex. Well, Century swept the Class A crowns in North Dakota last season. Can the Patriots do it again? Find out what Alex has to say about that when we come back.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute, Shields, and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
Well, time to turn our attention to North Dakota now. Last season, the Century Patriots took the rare sweep in both boys and girls track and field. This after the Bismarck boys had absolutely dominated this class with 11 straight titles.
Yeah, well, for more on what we can expect in North Dakota track and field, here's Alex.
Let's start with the Class A boys, where last year Bismarck Century shocked everyone by snapping Bismarck High's 11-year title run to capture their first state track championship in school history. Earning back-to-back titles, though, will not come easy, as goner Jacob Richter, Andrew Steinwand, and the 68 team points they helped Century earn at the state meet last year. But hurdle champ Zach Sweep, high jump champion Lucas Meyer, and sprint and long jump ace Max Cook all return to bolster a deep Patriot team. In Bismarck's camp, Sam Klausnitzer and Hunter Johnson are as decorated as any in the state, but the Demons' hopes for a return to the top spot in the podium will hinge on the emergence of depth in the distance and field events. It looks to be a 2-team race again this year, as third place at state last season was Fargo South, who finished 66 points behind the runners-up Bismarck. But while the gap between the Pac and the capital schools should be much closer this year, it looks like the Pats have enough to back up last year's title with a second this time around. On the girls' side, Century capped last season by capturing their 5th straight Class A team title, but this year could prove to be the end of the run for the Patriots. Most of the quality and the depth in the field that the Pats have enjoyed in recent seasons is now spent, and that could leave the door open for a team like Fargo Davies to move up a spot on the podium to earn their first team title. Last year's Class A runners-up bring back a lot of proven talent, including defending 800-meter champ Katie Bai, 100-meter hurdle champ Kaya Beal, and emerging sophomore sprinter Rose Gay. They'll be a tough out in every relay and in the jumping events, and while they won't be relevant in the throws, it might not matter if Century doesn't crank up the points like they've done in the past. In Class B, Newtown's noteworthy distance team was outstanding last year en route to their first track championship since 2009. The Eagles kept that momentum going this past fall in earning their 4th consecutive North Dakota cross-country title by, are you ready for this, 161 points over second-place Rugby. Led by Ryan Wheeling, they'll count on a distance core that earned 5 of the top 6 spots at that XC State meet to carry them to this track season once again. Expect Dickinson Trinity to produce the biggest challenge to the champs in Class B. The Titans fell 8 points shy of Newtown for the title and returned the core of 3 winning relay teams from the State Bs last year, including 100-meter champ Dawson Cram and 800-meter contender Dakota Mansfield. Hazen ran away with the Class B girls title last year, winning by 38.5 points over Hillsborough Central Valley. And even though the Bison graduated hurdle legend Dakota Wood, who picked up 36 points by herself last year at the state meet, they returned nearly everyone else, including all 4 members of their winning 4x1 and 4x2 relay teams. Hillsborough Central Valley will miss mid-distance specialist Annika Rotvold and long jump champ Kylie Pastian, but the Burros still captured their 5th straight cross-country team title this fall and will contend with 400-meter champ Gracie Wright and a group of strong distance relay teams.
Well, records are made to be broken, and Alex is sort of going to take a shot at one when we come back. Sort of. We'll step inside the acceleration zone for the first time this spring after this.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute, Shields, and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports. Well, since we are talking track, it only makes sense to try and pick up the pace a bit, right? So for that, we're going to step inside the acceleration zone. Quick questions, quick answers, with a goal of beating a particular time. This week, that time is 2 minutes, 5.28 seconds, and I'll let Alex explain the significance of that mark.
Yeah, okay, so Weston Dressler, right, a 2-time Canadian Football League All-Star, recently signed with Winnipeg. Before, though, his football career really took off. He was going to school at Bismarck High, and he posted the top 100-meter time in North Dakota prep history, 10.44 seconds, back in 2004. We've got a dozen Weston Dressler 100s to get through these questions, Jay.
Whew, tired just thinking about it. All right, well, a good one to start with, I guess. The gun is up. Here we go. And we are off. In light of the mark you just threw out, Alex, give us an all-time record in either state that's going to be the most likely to fall this year.
Well, I think Dressler's 10.44 is safe this season, but it wouldn't surprise me if someone gets the South Dakota girls 400-meter record that Courtney Dowling broke in 2014, either Dowling herself or maybe by Krista Bickley if she takes another big step forward this season. The other obvious one, the North Dakota girls 2-mile mark that Maddie Shirley Fairbairn set last season. 10.33 is great, but if the competition's right, possibly at Howard Wood again, I think Maddie takes it even lower.
All right, well, I know it's very early, but who are some of the under-the-radar performers that are catching your attention so far this spring?
Let's start with Rose Gay of Fargo Davies. She was a relay specialist last year. She was the lead leg on an Eagles 4x1 team that tied a state record. She's been doing more individual events this year as a sophomore. She beat out some of the best in the state last week in the 60 and the 200 at the state indoor meet in Fargo. Another one that's been impressive, Ellie Abraham of Brookings, just an 8th grader, but she won the AA cross-country title this fall. She's looked great in a couple of indoor meets on her home track in Brookings. She even beat defending AA champ Jasmine Cooper of Lincoln in the 1600 meters. She's one to watch, as is Paul of Harrisburg. This happened yesterday on his home track, Tiger Invite. The senior goes 10.99 in the 100, 49.9 in the 400. It was really windy out there, but those are still really impressive marks for this early in the season.
No question about it. All right, well, if you can believe it, we're going to try and pick up the pace even more here. Let's finish the acceleration zone with a lightning round. Don't think, just answer. What's the best event to watch this year for entertainment value?
South Dakota boys high jump. Zach Anderson of Parker, Jackson Hinch of Spearfish. Those guys both have a shot of breaking the 7-foot barrier.
What's the hardest event to predict?
North Dakota B-boys sprints is tough. Dawson Cram of Dickinson Trinity, Austin Brown of Trenton Will Trinity Christian. They split the 100 and the 2 last year. 0.05 of a second separating those two. That's incredibly close.
That is close. What about the hardest class to pick in terms of a team champion?
Class B boys in South Dakota, and that's not even close. It's like shooting fish in a barrel if you're blindfolded and the barrel is Lake Michigan.
All right, what's harder, playing the keyboard or holding a keyboard?
Playing guitar and singing.
Agree to disagree. That's okay, though. Good stuff, Alex. The acceleration zone, we're going to bring that back quite often here this spring, so we look forward to that. All right, well, coming up, we're going to shift our focus from the track to the diamond. Jason's going to come back to shed some light on the teams to beat in baseball after this.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute, Shields, and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
And welcome back. Well, the baseball season just getting started as well this spring. Jason, let's take a quick look now at the first edition of your power rankings. It's awful early, but there's some teams that are awfully good.
Some pop off the page. You'll see the bottom line here with the rankings, but I'm going to talk about the top teams. Lincoln brings back maybe the best pitcher and the catcher in the entire class. Griffin, Lockwood, Powell, Nolan, Burchell, both go in Division I. You got to put them at the top. And you see the final 4 teams from last year are my 4 teams this year, a lot of talent in Class A in South Dakota.
Class B, St. Thomas More, the defending champ. You like the Cavs again?
Well, they've just been outstanding, a true dynasty in this class. But watch out for Del Rapids. They were just a little behind last year, making it all the way to the state title game. Bring in the entire team back this year. They could give St. Thomas More a run for their money.
Mandan was the defending champ in Class A in North Dakota baseball, but they're not in your top 5 here in the preseason, so who do you like instead?
Well, I like a lot of teams in the WDA, to be honest, but Century has kind of put themselves up at the top. Alex Horner pitching on the mound. Luke Leingang looks like he's an improved player, too. They swept Mandan already out of the gate. They're going to be a much improved team over what they were last season.
Carrington was a runner-up to Mayport CG last year in Class B. You like them?
Yeah, this is a wide open field as well, but Carrington has great summer teams, great spring teams last year, and this year bring a lot of those guys back into the mix. Braxton Hewitt, Connor Wendell, the quarterback from the football team. And then Park River is going to be right on their heels, I believe, for the rest of the year, too. A lot of talent there, but I think those are the 2 teams to watch in Class B.
Now, obviously, we'd like to go into a lot more depth here, but we just don't have the time, frankly. But we do have another avenue for that, and that is the Midco SM podcast.
Yeah, check out the podcast. We're going to be doing that a lot throughout the season. We're going to have a baseball preview, a little more in-depth. We'll also have some track on there, too. We can't get to all the track and field stuff, so check it out, midcosn.com/podcast for the latest in high school sports.
Lots of great stuff coming up there each and every week, but in particular this week of interest, that baseball and track and field. All right, before we leave, let's take a quick look at the long-range forecast for some of the best events in both track and field coming up this season, and some of these are obvious. The Howard Wood Dakota Relays coming up May 6th and 7th in Sioux Falls. The state meets in both North Dakota and South Dakota coming up that same weekend at the end of May.
Same weekend this year, so that'll be a big show for us. And then you see some of the other meets coming up, some of the secondary ones. Trackorama's big, some of the conference meets. As far as baseball goes, be looking for the border battle coming up this weekend. Fargo teams going against Sioux Falls teams. We'll have rebroadcasts of those. Check the website out for that.
Yep, coming up on tape delay, so check your local listings. All right, that is our time for this week. For Alex Heinert, Jason Andera, I am Jay Elson. We'll see you back here next week for more Varsity Sports.